Okay, in a previous video we replaced the transmission fluid, which solved one of the problems with this transmission, the morning issue of it not going into gear because the fluid being too thick. It fixed that one, but we're still having rough downshifts from fourth into third, so we're going to replace the solenoid pack, which controls how the gears are shifted and when they're shifted, and see if that fixes the problem, and then perform a transmission manual relearn, which will involve taking the machine from a shop and putting it into the OBD port and forcing a manual reprogram, and we'll see if that. So the first thing you have to do is to take the air intake filter and the assembly out of the way, because the solenoid valve pack is actually sitting underneath this air filter. So there's just a pipe clamp that holds that tube there into the intake manifold, and then the air filter itself has a kind of a spring compression clip that holds that big filter assembly into that intake pipe there, and you got to get that stuff out of the way before you can see the solenoid pack, which is sitting underneath that big filter assembly. I took this cover off just to kind of just get it out of the way so I could see better underneath there. You don't have to take it off if you don't want to. This intake pipe is a little tricky to get off there. You just got to kind of finagle and twist and turn it, and it will come out of there. Again, those compression clips down at the bottom on that air filter is what's needed to get that out of the way. Once it comes off, the filter comes out. The filter is just stuck to that tube with compression. It's not fixed, so just pull it off, pull it out of the way. You're not going to break it. And these solenoid packs are held on by 3 10mm bolts. Pretty easy to get out of there, except for the middle one, which is hard to get to because there's a speed sensor and an electrical cable in the way. There's also 2 transmission coolant lines that are in the way. But use the 10mm to get those out of there. I believe I used a 3/4 for that speed sensor. I'm not quite sure, but you'll figure it out. It comes off of there pretty easy once you get it loose. You can just take it out with your fingers. Easy enough, I guess. Okay, we've got the 3 screws out. You can see them on the top of the solenoid pack that's removed. I've tried to clean up the gunk as much as I can in there. And these things always stick, right? There is over 100,000 miles on this pack, so the gasket's pretty glued onto this thing, so we're going to get a pry bar on and see if we can just wedge this thing out. Oh, looks like it came loose. Did I do it? Yay! Alright. The easiest way to bring this out of here is what? Where are you there, guys? There it comes. Yummy. Okay, so this is pretty gooey. We got to try to clean that old gasket off there and try to keep all this gunk from getting in there. So we'll clean this off with some towels, a razor blade, and make it clean so we put the new one on. Okay, so we're all brushed off, all the old gaskets off there. I just used a razor blade and some clean towels with a little bit of brake cleaner applied to them. I didn't spray brake cleaner directly on that surface, but just to get the towel a little wet so we could pick up all the gunk and stuff. But it's pretty clean, ready for the gasket. Okay, the new gasket's on there, and we'll next put on the new part. Okay, the new part in the plastic oil-drenched bag. That is a Mopar. When you're doing parts like this, go for the OEM parts. Try not to do the cheap substitutes, otherwise you're just going to repeat this work if it breaks after a couple thousand miles. That's the original. They're pretty much one for one, with the small exception of there's a dowel here, but on this one there seems to be 3. I got to do some research, but I think I got to pull that one out in order for it to fit exactly like the old one. Yep, I did need to take that dowel pin out of there for it to fit, but that's okay. Once I got it in there, it fit just right. 3 of those bolts go back in. I tightened them down by hand to eventually get a torque wrench in there and put them down to the right spec. Once you get that done, we'll do the rest. Yep, this gets torqued to about 9.5 foot-pounds, or 110 inch-pounds. So torque wrench set up. Hopefully this is all tight without messing around too much here. I think I might have to make this a little bit longer, just so I don't have to reach so far. Always good to have the right tools. Set it over here. These do have to get torqued to about 110 inch-pounds, or 9.5 foot-pounds. We'll just get them tightened down before we bring the torque wrench in, because the torque wrench is a lot bigger. Okay, torque wrench, and if you can see it here, it is set right here. This is all in foot-pounds, so 110 inch-pounds is about 9.5 foot-pounds. Google it, do the math. There it is. Again, not tight at all. These are not thick bolts. There it is. Now the rest of this we're going to speed up real quick. So the speed sensor gets in there and torqued to 20 foot-pounds. It's not too hard to do once you get the right size socket in there. Again, I don't remember exactly which one. I think it's a 3/4. Then the electrical connector is on there with an 8mm bolt. Should be still in the electrical connector. There's no torque spec, so just use a ratchet, and when it feels like it's tight enough. Then you got to put your air assembly and your filter all back together. It's a little bit of a puzzle to be able to put it back in there, but it came out, so it will go back in. In fact, it actually goes in easier than it came out, in my opinion. The first thing I did was actually put it on that clip right down the bottom right, and then squeezed on the hose, put it back in there, tightened everything back up, put the air sensors on, and that's it. It wasn't actually too bad of a job. That's the cover for the throttle. In order for this all to work after the replacement's done, you have to retrain the shift mechanism, and you do this by connecting a computer to the OBD port and talk via the DRB3 protocol to the transmission control module, and tell it to manually relearn all of the shift timings. Once you do that, all of these problems should go away, and indeed that's what happened. Once I connected and told it to reset itself with the new shift timings, everything was smooth. It was perfect. I have no more problems, and I've got a Sebring with 150,000 miles on it that if I would have taken to a shop, I don't know how much it would have cost, but it would have cost a lot. But by replacing the transmission fluid, replacing the solenoid pack, all in all, the parts cost was probably around $200, $250. The shop would have been obviously a lot more, but everything is now working as it should. Thanks for watching. Hope you enjoyed it, and I hope it helps you out.